Hey everyone! I hope you're all doing well today. Like always, I brought you a story that will touch your soul, make you angry, and maybe even inspire you. This is the story of a woman who carried her husband through the darkest years of his life, only to be abandoned the moment he touched success. A story of sacrifice. A story of betrayal. And a story of a comeback so powerful, you'll feel it in your bones. Before we dive in, let me know where you're watching from. Drop your name, city, and the word a present. Alright, let's get started. The air inside the grand auditorium of Kingsley University buzzed with excitement. Families cheered, cameras flashed, and flowers filled the room with soft fragrance. Among the crowd sat Layla Ramos, her hands clasped tightly together, trying to keep herself from crying. Today wasn't just her husband's graduation. It was the finish line of the hardest race of her life. On stage stood Jonah Reeve, tall, handsome, freshly graduated from architecture school. His smile stretched from ear to ear. For 6 years, Layla had worked double shifts at a small printing shop. Sold her father's old tools. Took night classes just to understand his assignments. And even pawned her favorite gold earrings to pay his final semester. All so Jonah could hold that degree. Beside her, Jonah's father, Mr. Reeve, clapped proudly. He didn't hide his displeasure toward Layla. He always believed Jonah could marry up, and not settle. But Layla ignored him. She only wanted to see Jonah shine. After the ceremony, Jonah walked toward them. But instead of hugging Layla first, he hugged his father tightly. "I made it, Dad," Jonah said proudly. "Yes, son. You were always meant for greatness," his father replied as if no one else existed. Layla stepped forward. "Congratulations, love." Jonah hugged her. But only for a second. His smile didn't reach his eyes. That evening, they sat in a fancy rooftop restaurant Layla had never been to. The city lights sparkled like tiny diamonds. But Layla felt out of place in her simple dress. Jonah barely looked at her. He spoke to his father most of the time. Finally, when the food arrived, Jonah cleared his throat. "Layla, I need to talk to you." She smiled softly. "Yes, honey." Jonah reached into his leather bag and placed a white envelope in front of her. Layla's heart tightened. "What's this? A job offer?" Jonah didn't blink. "No. It's a separation agreement." The world around her went silent. "What?" she whispered. "Jonah, this is a joke, right? On your graduation day?" Jonah shook his head slowly. "I'm moving into a different circle now. I need a partner who fits that world. Someone polished, someone refined." Then he looked straight at her and delivered the blow. "Layla, you're too ordinary for the future I'm building." Her breath caught. Her chest burned. Mr. Reeve smirked. "It's better this way. Jonah can't go far with someone who drags him down." Layla's heart cracked. 6 years of sacrifices. Dismissed in one sentence. Her hands trembled as she held the papers. But something inside her hardened. Suddenly the tears stopped. Her pain turned cold and sharp. She stood up slowly. "Jonah," as she said, her voice steady. "That degree you're so proud of? Half of it belongs to me. Every blueprint you drew, I printed. Every fee you paid, I earned. Every dream you chased, I carried." Jonah shifted uncomfortably. You think you above me now? Layla whispered. Oh no. You just forgot who built the ground you're standing on. She grabbed her purse and walked away. She didn't look back. That night, she didn't die in heartbreak. She was reborn. A full year passed. Jonah had become one of the city's rising young architects. He drove a sleek black car, lived in a modern condo, and attended rich people parties. But with success came arrogance. And with arrogance came enemies. One morning, during a major project presentation, Jonah's hands started shaking uncontrollably. His vision blurred. His voice cracked. He nearly fainted in front of the entire team. Doctors later told him the harsh truth. A neurological condition was attacking his motor skills. Without immediate treatment. Very expensive treatment. He could lose his ability to work. The cost? $900,000. Jonah was drowning in debt. His father had gone bankrupt. His rich friends disappeared. Jonah had burned every bridge. Except one. And she was the woman he had thrown away. Layla. With trembling hands, Jonah searched her name online. And froze. There she was. Elegant, strong, confident. Founder of Ramos Vision. A scholarship fund and support program for young designers. Her work was featured on TV. She had spoken at conferences. Her foundation sponsored medical treatments for struggling creatives. Jonah's heart sank. The woman he left behind had risen higher than he ever dreamed. She became everything he said she could never be. And now, she was his only hope. When Jonah arrived at her foundation, he felt smaller than ever. Layla sat in a warm, modern office, sunlight reflecting off her soft beige blazer. She looked peaceful, wiser, or glowing. But her eyes? They held no hatred. No love. Just quiet power. Jonah, as she said calmly. What brings you here? He swallowed hard. I'm sick, Layla. I need help. You're the only one who might. She lifted her hand gently. Jonah, this is not personal. This is a foundation. If you need aid, fill out the form like everyone else. Your case will be reviewed. He froze. She wasn't cruel. She wasn't vengeful. She was simply professional. Stronger. Untouchable. Jonah's eyes filled with tears. Layla. I'm sorry. For everything. She nodded slowly. I healed, Jonah. I moved on. And I truly hope you find your healing too. It was over. Not with revenge. But with dignity. Jonah left the building with shaking hands. But this story isn't about him. It is about Layla. A woman who broke. Who bled. Who lost everything. And then built herself again with unshakable strength. Her victory wasn't revenge. Her victory was becoming the woman she was always meant to be. Jonah walked out of the Ramos Vision Foundation with the application form clutched in his shaking hand. The same hands that once sketched skyscrapers now trembled uncontrollably. The city outside looked different. Colder, louder, more distant. He leaned against the stone wall of the building, gasping for air. People rushed around him, but no one cared. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to be invisible. Inside, Layla returned to her desk. Her heart wasn't cold. It was simply protected. Helping Jonah was not her responsibility anymore. Healing herself had been her greatest achievement. She exhaled slowly and whispered to herself. Some storms come back, just to show you how far you've risen above them. That night, Jonah sat alone in his dim apartment. Empty takeout boxes littered the table. Bills covered the floor. He opened the foundation application form. Each question felt like a punch. Current financial status. He wrote, in debt. Completely. Assets. He paused. Then wrote, none. Medical condition. He attached the test results with trembling fingers. When he reached the line that said, emergency contact, someone who supports your healing journey, Jonah's heart broke. He had no one. He stared at the blank space for a long time. Then finally wrote, none. His tears dropped onto the paper. This wasn't just a form. It was a mirror showing him everything he had lost. While Jonah struggled in silence, Layla's life bloomed beautifully. Her foundation had just funded its 200th student. Her book was becoming a bestseller. And she was invited to speak at a global design summit. But the biggest change wasn't her fame. It was the way she carried herself. Layla smiled more. She breathed easier. Her laughter came from deeper in her chest. And there was someone else. A gentle, steady presence in her life. Evan Carter. A graphic artist she met at a charity exhibition. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. He was exactly what she had never experienced before. Safe, kind, and intentional. He admired her strength, not her sacrifices. He loved her resilience, not her suffering. And somehow, without trying, he helped her heart bloom again. Back at the foundation, Jonah's file landed on the review committee table. It was thick, filled with debt statements, medical reports, and handwritten notes of desperation. The committee members whispered, "Is this the same Jonah Reeve who won the Young Architect Award? He looks completely broken. This condition, it's serious." Layla listened quietly. She didn't speak. But she didn't look away either. She had already switched her heart from hurt to compassion long ago. But compassion didn't mean forgetting the past. It meant being fair. After a long silence, Layla finally said, "Run the assessment. We treat him like any other applicant." Her voice didn't shake. Her soul didn't break. This was not revenge. This was maturity. 3 weeks later, Jonah received a phone call. "Mr. Reeve." The voice said politely, "We're calling from Ramos Vision Foundation. Your case has been reviewed." Jonah held his breath. "The foundation will cover part of your medical treatment, but not all of it." He sank to the floor. They continued. "We will support 45% of the cost. The remaining amount will require additional sponsorship, which you must seek independently." Jonah covered his face. To someone else, 45% might seem small. But to him, it was light in total darkness. He whispered, "Thank you. Please, tell Layla thank you." The representative paused. "Sir, Miss Ramos didn't review your case as your ex-wife. She reviewed it as a foundation director. She has nothing personal to say. The call ended. Jonah sat there, crying quietly. Not because he was saved, but because he finally understood. Layla didn't punish him. She didn't humiliate him. She simply let him face the consequences of the life he chose. And that, more than anything, was the real lesson. Weeks later, Jonah began his treatment abroad, partially funded by the foundation. His hands slowly steadied. His vision stopped worsening. But he wasn't the same man who left. He walked slower, spoke softer, listened more. He learned something painful and beautiful. Success means nothing without character. Love means nothing without value. And losing everything can sometimes save your soul. Months rolled by like pages in a quiet book. Layla's life continued to flourish. Her foundation expanded into 2 new cities. Her book reached international shelves. And schools began using her story as a lesson on resilience. Yet her heart remained humble. One evening, she walked into her cozy apartment after a long meeting. Evan was there, waiting for her with steaming tea and a gentle smile. "You look tired," he said softly. "I'm a little," she admitted, sinking into the sofa. "Want to talk about it?" Layla hesitated, then nodded. "I reviewed another case today," she said quietly. "It reminded me of my past." Evan took her hand. "You don't owe your past anything," he whispered. "You've already paid. Now the world is paying attention." Layla smiled. It was the kind of smile that grows from healing, not from victory. She realized something that night. Letting go wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of her freedom. Across the ocean, Jonah finished the last round of his treatment. His body grew stronger, but his spirit grew quieter. He spent time volunteering at the small rehabilitation center where he stayed. He taught drawing classes to kids with mobility challenges. He helped elderly patients with their meals. And for the first time in years, his heart softened. One afternoon, while sketching on a park bench, he whispered to himself, "I didn't lose Layla. I lost the man she loved." It was the moment he finally understood. His journey wasn't about winning her back. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about becoming someone worthy. Not of Layla's forgiveness, but of his own respect. When he looked at his reflection in the hospital window, he didn't see the arrogant young architect anymore. He saw a man rebuilding from the inside out. Not for applause, not for attention, but because healing required honesty. And honesty was the one thing he had always avoided. Before returning home, Jonah wrote a letter. Simple, honest, painful. He never mailed it. But the words cleaned the last bit of darkness from his heart. Layla, I know I will never deserve your forgiveness. But I want you to know this. You didn't break me. You saved me. By leaving, you showed me the truth I refused to face. Thank you for helping me rise. Even when I didn't see the cliff I was standing on. He folded the letter and placed it inside his sketchbook. Not to send, but to remember. Remorse is the first step. Responsibility is the second. Rebuilding is the rest of the journey. When Jonah returned to the city, he didn't chase Layla. He didn't show up at her foundation. He didn't beg for another meeting. He simply lived better. He moved to a modest apartment. started working for a small community architecture firm, designed affordable homes for struggling families, spent time with people who valued kindness over status. He became someone he wished he had been long ago. And far across town, in a sunny cafe, Layla and Evan laughed over a sketchbook filled with ideas for a new project. A creative therapy center for young artists. Layla's eyes sparkled as she talked about the future. A future built with peace, not pain. With love, not loss. With purpose, not pressure. She didn't need closure from Jonah. She had closure from herself. And happiness? It found her naturally. Like sunlight entering a room with an open window. If there's one lesson in Layla's story, it's this. Sometimes the people who break you are the people who build you. Without realizing it, Layla didn't rise to make Jonah regret. She rose because she deserved to rise. And Jonah? He didn't change to win her back. He changed because life forced him to meet himself face to face. In the end, Layla moved forward with love. Jonah moved forward with humility. And both found what they needed. Not in each other, but in themselves. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect.